Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into something we all experience but basically never talk about. You know those super complex, incredibly isolating feelings you get on a random Tuesday, but you just literally have no words for them? Well, it turns out language has this amazing way of proving we really aren't alone. Let's find the words for exactly how we feel. Okay, let's dive right into this. I want you to think back for a second. Have you ever been hit by a feeling so deeply personal, so ridiculously specific that you couldn't even begin to explain it to someone else? You're grasping for the right word, right? Like, is it sadness, nostalgia, awe? But none of them actually fit. Well, there's a whole hidden dictionary of emotional concepts out there, and today we are unlocking the whole shebang. So picture this. You're sitting in brutal traffic. You're drumming your fingers, feeling super impatient. And you just happen to glance over at the car next to you. There's a stranger in there, completely lost in their own world. And for a split second, it just hits you like a ton of bricks. That person has an entire, fully realized life. They have a childhood, deep-seated fears, an argument they've literally been replaying in their head all week, people they love fiercely, a whole story that is just as long and endlessly complicated as yours. And then the light turns green, you drive away, and you'll never know a single thing about them. That massive, overwhelming realization, that's called Sonder. It sounds kind of obvious when you say it out loud, but actually feeling it in your bones is a completely different experience. It usually sneaks up on us in super crowded places, train stations, busy streets, airports. Your brain is genuinely trying to grasp the massive scale of the fact that every single face passing by is a whole three-dimensional person. And then your brain just sort of gives up because the scale is simply too huge to hold on to. It's not really a good feeling or a bad one, it's just big. Let's move on and see how this builds, shifting from our connection with other people to our connection with our physical environments. Okay, imagine you are safe inside and it is absolutely pouring rain outside. It's loud, the wind is howling, and going out in it would be completely miserable. Suddenly, the outside world and all of those heavy, stressful demands become physically unreachable. This incredibly cozy feeling is called Chrysalism. It's named after the chrysalis, the cocoon a butterfly lives in. It captures that exact sensation of being sealed off from the world in a way that feels incredibly safe rather than trapped. The secret sauce here is the sensory contrast. The chaotic, loud noise of the storm outside is actually the very thing making the warmth inside feel so deeply good. Your brain registers that stark difference and it just, relaxes. I mean, it's the exact reason some of us will purposefully crack a window just to hear a thunderstorm a little better, right? And this brilliantly illustrates our next concept. Think about this fascinating contrast. On one hand, you've got a crowded stadium packed with cheering fans. But on the other hand, imagine that exact same stadium, the lights are still blazing, but it's an hour after the game ended and absolutely everyone has gone home. There's a very specific, eerie texture to the absence of people in a place that is explicitly designed for massive crowds. The empty chairs, the signs, those incredibly wide concourses, all of it assumes people are supposed to be there. When they aren't there, you experience what's called Kenopsia. It's the strange kind of forlorn atmosphere of a bustling place that is suddenly entirely abandoned. Now, if you had never known the place was supposed to be packed, it would just be a room. But because you know its purpose, the emptiness takes on this heavy, almost physical presence. And what's really fascinating is this doesn't just apply to physical architecture. You can absolutely feel Kenopsia looking at untouched old social media profiles of someone who hasn't posted in years. The digital structure of the person is still sitting right there, but the life within it is gone. Let's shift gears from the eerie emptiness of large spaces to the intimate, cozy quiet of used bookshops. Think about walking into one. It's not just the comforting smell of old paper, though, let's be real, that's definitely a huge part of it. It's the sudden, profound realization that the physical objects surrounding you have already lived entirely separate lives long before they ever reached your hands. That incredibly specific atmosphere is known as Vellichor. Think about it. Every single book on those shelves was bought by someone. Maybe they read it cover to cover, or maybe it just sat on their nightstand. They left a discarded receipt inside acting as a bookmark, or maybe they underlined a passage that meant the absolute world to them on a random Tuesday 10 years ago. Vellichor is that quiet, slightly sad wistfulness you feel. It's this soft, physical reminder that time passes, things change hands, and our world is basically stacked high with small, discarded histories, just waiting for someone new to stumble upon them. Now, nostalgia is something we all know pretty well. That warm, slightly sad pull toward our past. But there's actually a deeper version of this.
It's like a longing for a childhood neighborhood after all the houses have been renovated and your favorite trees cut down, or longing for the early days of a relationship, or that one perfect summer that felt like it would literally never end. It's this lingering grief where, technically speaking, nothing bad actually happened. Things just moved on.
To name this specific feeling, we look to the Welsh language and the word Hiraeth. Now, Welsh speakers will proudly tell you that this genuinely does not translate perfectly into English. Why? Because it captures an emotional gap we simply don't have a single word for. You see, you aren't just missing a place. You're missing a version of your life that simply does not exist anymore. Even if you drive all the way back to that childhood neighborhood, the thing you are actually seeking isn't there. Hiraeth is where nostalgia meets a lost, totally unrecoverable version of yourself. But wait, what if you are longing for a past you never even lived through? You know the feeling? You're watching footage of a city street from the 1970s with those warm, washed-out colors and slightly wrong aspect ratios, and you feel this deep, weird pull toward that pace of life. Well, this is called Anemoia, nostalgia for a time you've never known. Logically, it makes zero sense. But old media only ever shows us the good stuff, right? The celebrations, the nice photos, the surviving highlight reel of history. We project our modern, totally exhausted desire for simplicity onto this warm aesthetic, longing for an era we never actually had to navigate. All right, shifting gears into the messy complexities of human connection. Let's talk about those early, incredibly chaotic stages of liking someone. Not just a simple crush, but that intense phase where your brain essentially stops working. Back in the 1970s, psychologist Dorothy Tenov studied this extensively and coined the term limerence. What makes limerence totally different from just liking someone is the exhausting, entirely involuntary nature of it. You aren't consciously choosing to think about them constantly. Your brain is just doing it on an endless loop. This psychological loop is honestly exhausting. It goes like this. First, you have a tiny, seemingly insignificant interaction. Then, step 2, you completely overanalyze it. A fast text means one thing, a slow one means another. Finally, your brain fiercely craves reciprocation. Because here's the wild part. Limerence isn't actually just about the other person. It's a relentless quest to find out if they feel it too. Want fascinating proof of this? The exact moment the uncertainty vanishes, whether they like you back or firmly reject you, the overwhelming feeling of limerence tends to just fade away entirely. Once we move past individual connections, we often find ourselves in groups, which brings us to Monachopsis. Imagine you're at a party or maybe a work event. Everyone is comfortable, the conversation is flowing, you're smiling. Technically, absolutely nothing is wrong. But underneath it all, you have this subtle, persistent feeling of being slightly out of place. It's definitely not shyness, because it doesn't go away once you warm up. It's as if your personal frequency just doesn't match the room you're standing in, and no amount of social adjusting will ever quite close that gap. Now, what's really interesting about this next concept is its beautiful, highly precise literal translation. The wall builder sadness. It points to a deeply painful social reflex that so many of us experience all the time, but we almost never talk about it. The German word for this is Mauerbauertraurigkeit. A friend or family member reaches out. They haven't done anything wrong, they genuinely want to see you, and yet something inside you just firmly closes. You make an excuse, you push them away, and then you just sit alone in your room. It feels way more like an involuntary reflex than a conscious decision. And the worst part, it's immediately followed by a very specific, sharp loneliness that you can't even complain about because, well, you're the one who built the wall in the first place. Okay, let's completely zoom out for a moment here. 8 billion. That is roughly the number of people on this planet right now, all living, breathing, and doing something at this exact second. We are zooming all the way out to a massive existential scale here, looking at a universe so incredibly large that these numbers frankly just stop meaning anything to the human brain. So, the crucial point is this staggering contrast. You are one person in one tiny window of time in a history that stretches back billions of years, and yet you are currently worrying about an awkward thing you said at work last Thursday. It is completely consuming your mental bandwidth. That jarring contrast creates a feeling called Occhiolism. It's the sudden, acute awareness of the incredible smallness of your own perspective. It usually arrives completely uninvited, maybe when you're incredibly tired or, you've just been staring up at the night sky for way too long. For some people, Occhiolism is deeply freeing. The pressure evaporates because, hey, nothing matters that much in the grand scheme. But for others, it's entirely unsettling, almost as if the floor has briefly disappeared right beneath their feet. That realization of scale leads directly to a really heavy truth. You get one timeline. Every single choice you make is, by definition, a choice not to make 100 others. Living in the city you are in right now means you sacrifice the dozens of other cities you could have moved to. Every path you take permanently closes off paths you won't. And today, this feeling is heavily amplified by the internet, where evidence of all the alternate lives you aren't living is literally just one click away.
Sitting with that awareness triggers what's called Onism. It is the ultimate existential frustration of being stuck in just one body, capable of inhabiting only one place and one life at a single time. It's the quiet, heavy awareness of how much of the world you are missing out on simply by being right here, living this exact version of your life instead of all the others that were technically available to you. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a question. Knowing about Onism, in a world of infinite paths, are you at peace with the one you're on? The incredible thing about all these unnameable emotions, from the isolation of Monachopsis to the vastness of Occhiolism, is that giving them a name proves we are never actually alone in feeling them. Someone else felt it so deeply they created a word for it. So the next time you feel a strange, complex pang in your chest, remember, there's probably a word for that, and there are millions of people feeling it right alongside you. Keep exploring and keep seeking the words for your world.
If this fact blew your mind, hit subscribe right now. Tap the bell for more mind-blowing facts, drop your thoughts in the comments, and share this with someone who loves learning cool stuff.